We're surrounded by fake news, but digital detox is just another form of burying your head in the sand. In this controversial video, we're going to debunk the myth that unplugging is the solution to information overload. Instead, you're going to discover a revolutionary new approach to thriving in the AI-powered information age. Don't fall for simplistic solutions, learn how to master the digital realm instead of fleeing from it. I'm Evan Goldstein, I'm a licensed professional engineer and I'm a data scientist. I'm building the AI Capitalist channel to help you steer your way past the digital lies and get right to the truth. But the truth is hard to come by, and harder to know when you see it. Ever thought about how much time it actually takes to keep up with everything going on these days? You might believe that just signing up for a couple of solid newspapers and catching up on the weekend is all that you really need. And in the old days, that seemed like that was. And for a long time, this way of staying informed felt pretty good. Honestly, this method just doesn't cut it anymore. You'll pick up some information, or at least you might think you are. But the real problem is usually in what's not being said instead of what's actually being reported. News stories don't tend to lie outright so much as they just omit certain facts that would completely change your interpretation. It's part of the new spoon-feeding culture that the media has come up with. They tell you your opinion, and then sometimes they give you the facts instead of giving you the facts and then trying not to tell you what to think. We've all been lied to enough to the point that even when I read a news story about a building burning down, I think to myself, maybe it burned down, maybe not. In other words, sometimes the only thing that's true on a news website is the date. If you're fed up with the news outlets, you're for sure not the only one. But a lot of people are jumping over to Twitter, which Elon Musk calls X, for their news fix. It's like one endless scroll after another, flooding your brain with all the latest in real time. Suddenly the world seems way different when you read those posts. Not always better, but maybe a bit more real. I used to think that keeping up with the latest social media is all about picking the right people to follow. But honestly, no matter how much I tweak my feed, I can't escape Elon Musk's wild rants and all those other algorithm favorite voices that keep getting shoved in front of my face. It's like they're just everywhere and I can't shake them off. On X, you'll come across stories that are way too hot for regular media. X gives you a front row view of all the wild stuff happening around the world, and there's something exciting about being part of the informed crowd of self-declared super people. If you get real, no matter how cautious you try to be, you're going to end up falling for something. Like the breaking news alert that hits you before you know it, you're sharing it with your friends, and then a few minutes later, once the fog clears, you realize that the story wasn't exactly what it looked like. Feeling a bit sheepish, you fire off another message. Pretty soon, after you run a post, you realize it's wrong. You have to shoot off some sheepish oops. Here's the deal. Staying in the loop today isn't as easy as it used to be. It feels like a full-time gig now. And you can't just take things at face value anymore. You've got to dig into every story, picking apart articles, checking out photos, making sure videos are legit by cross-referencing sources. It's super important to understand how it fits into the bigger picture. Back in the day, getting reliable news was still no walk in the park. Crafting a solid article or a convincing video meant putting in some serious time, effort, know-how, and research. Whether it came from a budget-friendly news outlet or a fancy newsroom, there was so much news they could churn out. They had to pick and choose what really mattered. But with the rise of generative artificial intelligence, information is now everywhere and it's super cheap. We can whip up endless text, images, and even videos without breaking the bank. It all kicked off with text. Back in the day, it was easy to spot AI-written articles. I even have a few videos on how to avoid making your own writing what is written by AI, because AI-written content was awkward and it has clear patterns that gave it away. But now AI is so advanced that telling what's real and what's fake is getting almost impossible. We used to think text was the tricky part, and we leaned on images as our go-to truth bombs. But the saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words doesn't really cut it anymore. AI-generated visuals used to have a weird vibe and mess with our sense of what's real. 6 fingers, 3 hands. Those images have improved, and Grok 2 is cranking out super realistic and totally uncensored images. And even the professionals are scratching their heads trying to figure out what's true and what's just an illusion. Videos, which we used to think were rock-solid proof, are getting very easy to fake as well. We're getting to a point now where you can't trust anything on video, and we may have already hit that point. All right, so what's the game plan? How do we escape this crazy flood of information? It feels impossible to ditch it all and bury your head in the sand. Tuning out and unplugging from the news sounds like a bold move, and it's actually important to do for sanity because you don't really affect the news. But it does affect you. And if we totally check out from the news, we'd just be driving headfirst into a sea of cluelessness. Do we want more government rules? That's probably not going to do us much good either. We've already seen that AI regulation, the regulators are always 6 or 7 years behind where the technology is. And it's moving so fast now that being 6 months behind is too late. Plus, trying to use technology Trying to use technology to fix a problem that technology caused seems like a never-ending race. We're just running in circles without a finish line. But there's still some hope. People have always managed to get creative and come up with clever solutions. And the cool thing about the future is that it's a total mystery. It's not set in stone yet, and that just means we've got the chance to steer it however we want. And if you want to help me steer more viewers to AI Capitalist, I would urge you to hit the like button. Hitting lets me know that I'm making the kind of content that you want to see, and it helps spread that content to other people. I thank you genuinely for supporting this channel and helping us grow. With AI, mixing up what's real and what's fake is a real challenge now. It's not enough to just sit back and take in whatever information comes our way. We have to be our own watchdogs for what we know and for what we believe. We have to be very careful, we have to be skeptical, and we have to think critically and always question everything we hear. Future of information might feel like a lot to handle, but it's also super exciting. And if we roll with the changes, we won't feel stuck, we'll feel empowered. We're living through a major media shakeup. We like to look back on earlier times and say, remember when it was Walter Cronkite, or there were 3 news channels? Most of you probably don't remember that. I don't remember Cronkite, but I remember when there were 3 news channels. And you would watch the news from 6 to 6:30, and whatever they said, that was pretty much what was happening. But with the advent of social media, we have access to more information, and we're starting to realize that we were sold a false bill of goods. We have to navigate through this more thoughtfully. The prize is having a better picture of the world as it is.